On this week's edition of Holy Grail, we have something interesting for you. For those in New Casablanca, they made a number of ornate models based off of antiques, or reproductions as we call them. One of them was the 20th Century Limited. It was bloated, grossly ornate, and it's kind of uncommon amongst Casablanca models. Production numbers were low, expense was high, leading to relative rarity. Now this here, this is the inspiration for the 20th Century Limited. This here is the Westinghouse Deluxe. Yeah, this was Westinghouse's first ceiling fan. Introduced around, I want to say, 1906, and it lasted until about 1910, from which point the Sidewinder overtook it. Sidewinder was introduced in 09, and they ran concurrent for about a year. As you can see, it is bloated, obscenely ornate. Top of the motor, the giant cast iron top plate, or top cover, concealing the terminal block and the speed coil. Fan was made in the Gilded Age, when everything was ornate and intricate. Post-Victorian, very nice. These fans, as far as I know, were very, very expensive new, leading to them becoming very, very rare. Now, as you can see, the bottom, there would be a bottom, an ornate bottom cover that would conceal the blade irons. And there would have been a 3-speed snap switch, which sadly has broken because of its exposed, protruding nature, and sitting it down on the ground is going to break it. So yeah, this is one of the rarer antiques. It is obscenely rare. It was obscenely expensive and still is obscenely expensive. It's also obscenely heavy. Okay. This motor, complete with all parts, weighs 75 pounds. It is a boat anchor. It is one of the, if not the, heaviest ceiling fans ever made. When Westinghouse made their safety braces, they probably looked back into their history. Even though Westinghouse wasn't really owned by themselves, it was kind of just the name at this point. But anyway, probably looked back and like, wait, we made something that weighed 75 pounds. We might want to support that just in case. So, yeah. As you can see, the original finish was copper oxide. The blades are solid mahogany. You have the cast iron spade blade irons. And the pitch is about 15 degrees. So you will see in a bit, there's another obscenity relating to this fan, and that's power. But first, we go to this little doohickey here. The fan had a longer downrod originally, and a large brass canopy. This here is the original downrod sleeve. It was done in copper. I think it's made of brass. Copper-plated brass. And I'd say it's 2 feet long. So, it has everything except its bottom cover and its canopy, pretty much. Now, finding these complete, not easy. Not easy at all. The blade irons usually have to be reproduced because the blades are usually missing, which makes things tricky. Anyway, this will stay. I wired the pole chain for low, medium, high, so we're going to start on low. The thrust bearing is a bit worn, and that's because the fan dates to approximately 1909. The switch is dated 1909, so I would assume that's the build date, or year of manufacture. Now, another thing you may have noticed on top of the casting, on top of the motor, is there are ribs in the casting. The first run of these, I think in 1906 and 1907, didn't have those ribs. They had larger circular vents in the top of the motor housing and no support ribs, and this was a time before recalls were a thing. Basically, because of the lack of reinforcement, these fans were prone to falling from the ceiling. And since these motors weigh 75 pounds, that's not good at all. That is very, very bad. So, in around 1908, I want to say, they reinforced the motor, added ribs, and in doing so, they also had to add the top cover. So, the fan is a 58-inch span, by the way. The blades are solid mahogany, which are, oddly enough, in very good shape. Which is surprising because this fan is basement fresh. It probably spent most of its life in a hotel, but then sat in the basement for years, and the finish kind of went to hell. Because it was originally all copper oxide, blackened copper oxide. Now this is low speed. It's more or less a medium, because speed coils are never really that slow, and this is no exception, although this speed coil actually is pretty effective. Like, I believe this fan was used on high most of its life, and the lower speeds were never used, so the speed coil is still good. So, I want to say high speed is about 100 RPM, maybe 95. Maybe 110, around 100 RPM. So the thrust bearing is a bit loud, which I guess is to be expected considering the age. Alright, let's do medium now. Medium's picking up speed. It's really moving air, by the way, because it's a 15-degree pitch. go straight to high. High is a noticeable uptick in speed. I want to say, with this blade span, 58-inch span, 15-degree pitch, this fan is doing about 200 RPM, I want to say. So this fan is also obscenely powerful. Now, a similarly powerful antique, which would be the 60-inch Century spinner, runs a hell of a lot faster than this, about 285 RPM on high. But it also has a shallower pitch. So it works more off of speed, so it's more akin to an industrial fan rather than, you know, a normal fan. This is more akin to normal in terms of speed. So, yeah, it hauls ass. It's a great performer. And the motor is friggin' huge. The rotor is maybe a good 7 inches deep. Alright. The rotor itself weighs 40 pounds. Roughly. And the stator's about 1.5 times thicker than that of, say, a Hunter Original. Or a shaded pole motor, I should say. I don't have an amp meter on hand, but if I had to guess, I would say that this fan pulls about 3 amps. Definitely a nice piece. Now we're going to let it coast. The bearings are still a bit gummy because I haven't been able to really take the oil cup off just yet to clean it. So the spin down time's a bit low. Or not low, but fast. There's the badge. 110 volts. .60 hertz. Last patent date was December 26, 1893. Long before the fan was introduced, but yeah. The style number is 68166. Or, no, that's not. I think it's 61866, something around that. And there you have it. The incredibly rare, obscene in every way, Westinghouse Deluxe.